The journey from Earth to the edge of the Tyrannies cluster had been long, but for Max Reynolds, the anticipation of stepping onto a new planet washed away the weariness of space travel. As he descended the ramp of the landing craft, the gravity of Taraxis, slightly lighter than Earth's, tugged at him with a gentle insistence, as if the planet itself was eager to meet him. Max, an exobiologist by trade, was here under the auspices of the Galactic Coalition's outreach program. His mission was simple: to live among the native inhabitants of Taraxis and learn from them, paving the way for peaceful coexistence. But standing at the threshold of the alien world, he felt the enormity of his task. The Taraxians were a formidable species, known throughout the galaxy for their warrior culture. They were smaller in stature compared to humans, but what they lacked in size, they more than made up for in agility and strength. Max had studied their ways from afar, but as the saying goes, no amount of study can substitute for experience. His first encounter was to be with Lyra, a decorated Terracian warrior and his designated liaison. According to the briefs, she was a tough nut to crack, known for her fierce demeanor and razor-sharp wit. The Coalition had warned him of her skepticism towards humans, whom she viewed as cumbersome and slow, a point she made rather colorfully during their preliminary communications. As Max approached the designated meeting spot, a modest structure at the edge of a sprawling forest that covered much of Taraxis's surface, he spotted Lyra. She was even smaller than he had imagined, barely reaching his chest. Her skin was a vivid shade of blue, speckled with shimmering silver that glinted in the sunlight. Two large, expressive eyes, a deep, iridescent purple, studied him intently. "Max Reynolds," she said, her voice carrying an unexpected melodic quality. "I expected you to be larger." Max smiled, extending his hand in a gesture of human friendliness. "And I expected you to be less direct," he replied, trying to mirror her straightforwardness. Lyra's eyes flickered with amusement, but she took his hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "We Taraxians do not waste words. Come, there is much to show you before nightfall." The day passed in a blur of introductions and briefings. Lyra was an efficient guide, showing him the intricate beauty of Taraxis, from its towering crystal forests to the luminescent rivers that snaked through the landscape. Yet, beneath her professional demeanor, Max sensed a challenging undertone. As night fell and the twin moons of Taraxis rose in the sky, casting a surreal glow over everything, Lyra and Max found themselves by a fireside, the cool night air filled with the sounds of the nocturnal creatures of Taraxis. "This is your first night on Taraxis, Max. What do you think?" Lyra asked, her gaze fixed on the dancing flames. "It's beautiful," Max admitted, "and slightly intimidating." Lyra chuckled, the sound soft but clear. "You should be intimidated. This planet is not for the weak." The firelight played across her features, softening the harsh lines of her warrior facade. Max watched her, a mix of fascination and apprehension stirring within him. He was far from home, sitting beside a tiny alien warrior who had laughed at his size, but he was beginning to understand that there was much more to Lyra than her laughter suggested. As the night deepened, their conversation drifted to tales of their respective worlds, each story weaving a delicate bond between them. Max realized that beneath the fierce exterior, Lyra was deeply passionate about her people and their customs. It was this passion that he would need to understand if he was to succeed in his mission. But as the fire dwindled and the night grew cold, Max felt a change in the air. Lyra seemed closer, her presence more intense, as if the night itself was pulling them together. He couldn't shake the feeling that this first night together was just the beginning of something unforeseen, a journey neither of them could have predicted. The crisp Terracian night settled around Max and Lyra, the fire reduced to embers casting a dim, comforting glow. Despite the drop in temperature, the atmosphere between them was charged with an unspoken energy. Max found himself captivated by the subtle expressions dancing across Lyra's face as she spoke of her home. "On Taraxis, strength is not just physical," Lyra explained, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "It is the essence of our spirit, the core of our being. We are born from the stars, they say, warriors from the cradle to the grave." Max listened intently, each word painting a vivid picture of a culture so alien yet so bound by honor and courage. "And what of love?" he ventured, the words slipping out almost involuntarily. Lyra paused, her expression inscrutable for a moment. "Love is a luxury," she finally said, her voice softer. "It is cherished but always secondary to duty." The honesty in her tone struck a chord in Max. Here was a being who lived a life so disciplined, so dedicated to her people, that personal desires were often sidelined. He wondered about the weight of such responsibility. "Do you ever wish it could be different?" he asked, his curiosity piqued. Lyra turned to face him, her gaze intense. "Sometimes," she confessed. "But wishes are like stars, distant and often unattainable." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden rustle in the underbrush. In a fluid motion, Lyra was on her feet, a small, sleek weapon in hand. Max stood, startled by the swift change in her demeanor. "It's just a Zareth," she said after a tense moment, lowering her weapon. The creature, a small, four-legged being with luminescent fur, scurried away into the darkness. Max exhaled, the adrenaline surge leaving him slightly shaky. "You're always on guard," he observed. "It's our way," Lyra replied, sitting back down with a grace that belied her earlier readiness to strike. On Taraxis, every moment holds potential for conflict or challenge. The night wore on, and Max found himself drawn into Lyra's world of constant vigilance and unwavering duty. Yet, the more he learned, the more he saw the subtle hints of Lyra's hidden depths, a warrior tempered by a profound sense of duty, yet flickering with the flame of individual desires and dreams. As dawn approached, the first hints of light crept across the sky, casting the world in a new light. Lyra stood, her figure outlined against the brightening horizon. "Come," she said, "let us greet the dawn. It is a warrior's welcome." Max followed, his mind racing with thoughts and emotions stirred by the night's revelations. As they watched the sunrise, a spectacular display of vibrant colors scattering across the sky, he felt a shift within him, a deepening of the bond between them, formed not just of words but of shared experiences. They remained silent as the day broke fully, the new light heralding not just a new day on Taraxis, but a new understanding between two beings from different worlds. Max realized that this planet, with all its beauty and brutality, had begun to weave its magic around him, binding him inexplicably to this tiny alien warrior who laughed at human size but whose spirit and courage were larger than life itself. As the sun ascended, its rays illuminating the crystalline structures of the forest, Max and Lyra ventured deeper into the alien wilderness. Today, Lyra had promised a glimpse into the training of a Terrasian warrior, a chance for Max to understand the physical prowess that defined her people. They arrived at a clearing where the ground was marked with intricate patterns. Lyra explained that these were traditional training rings, used by warriors to hone their skills in combat. The air was filled with the sounds of Taraxians practicing, their movements a blur of speed and precision. "Today, you will learn the dance of the warrior," Lyra declared, her tone both challenging and encouraging. She stepped into one of the rings, beckoning Max to join her. Hesitant but intrigued, Max stepped forward. The ground felt alive under his feet, energy pulsing from the soil of Taraxis itself. Lyra began to move, her body swaying, feet tapping intricate rhythms that seemed to echo the heartbeat of the planet. "Watch and follow," she instructed. Max did his best to mimic her movements, but his larger frame felt clumsy in comparison. Lyra's patience was a constant, her corrections firm yet gentle. As they moved through the combat dance, Max felt a new respect for the physical demands of Lyra's world. Every motion was deliberate, every step filled with potential for both attack and defense. The dance was a language of its own, telling stories of battles fought and won, of warriors' spirits tested and tempered. After several exhausting hours, they paused, Max catching his breath, his respect for Lyra deepening. "How do you endure this every day?" he asked, genuinely in awe. "It is who we are," Lyra replied simply. "Our strength comes from our spirit, and our spirit is forged here, in these rings." Their day of training revealed not just the physical aspects of Terrasian culture but also the deep-seated values they held: discipline, resilience, and a profound connection to the land. Max learned that the warriors of Taraxis did not train merely to fight, They trained to become one with their environment, to move with a harmony that respected and reflected the world around them. As the sun began its descent, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, they left the training rings. Lyra led Max to a nearby river, its waters glowing with bioluminescent algae. They sat by the bank, the water cool and soothing on their tired feet. Here, away from the rigor of training, Lyra shared tales of legendary warriors, each story steeped in the ethos of her people. Max listened, captivated not just by the tales themselves but by the way Lyra's voice carried a mixture of pride and nostalgia. It was clear that these legends were not just history, they were a living part of the Teresian identity, lessons in life and leadership passed down through generations. As night approached, and the first stars began to appear in the twilight sky, Max and Lyra remained by the river, their conversation meandering like the gentle currents. Max found himself sharing more about Earth, about his own experiences and hopes. The exchange was a blend of cultural sharing and personal revelation, each opening up in ways they hadn't anticipated. In the quiet of the coming night, with stars reflecting in the shimmering waters, a mutual understanding blossomed between them. This understanding was not just of words and histories but of shared human experiences, fear, hope, and the endless quest for meaning in a vast, uncaring universe. They were different, human and Teresian, yet beneath those differences, they discovered a common ground that transcended worlds. As the sun ascended, its rays illuminating the crystalline structures of the forest, Max and Lyra ventured deeper into the alien wilderness. Today, Lyra had promised a glimpse into the training of a Teresian warrior, a chance for Max to understand the physical prowess that defined her people. They arrived at a clearing where the ground was marked with intricate patterns. Lyra explained that these were traditional training rings, used by warriors to hone their skills in combat. The air was filled with the sounds of Taraxians practicing, their movements a blur of speed and precision. "Today, you will learn the dance of the warrior," Lyra declared, her tone both challenging and encouraging. She stepped into one of the rings, beckoning Max to join her. Hesitant but intrigued, Max stepped forward. The ground felt alive under his feet, energy pulsing from the soil of Taraxis itself. Lyra began to move, her body swaying, feet tapping intricate rhythms that seemed to echo the heartbeat of the planet. "Watch and follow," she instructed. Max did his best to mimic her movements, but his larger frame felt clumsy in comparison. Lyra's patience was a constant, her corrections firm yet gentle. As they moved through the combat dance, Max felt a new respect for the physical demands of Lyra's world. Every motion was deliberate, every step filled with potential for both attack and defense. The dance was a language of its own, telling stories of battles fought and won, of warriors' spirits tested and tempered. After several exhausting hours, they paused, Max catching his breath, his respect for Lyra deepening. "How do you endure this every day?" he asked, genuinely in awe. "It is who we are," Lyra replied simply. "Our strength comes from our spirit, and our spirit is forged here, in these rings." Their day of training revealed not just the physical aspects of Teresian culture but also the deep-seated values they held: discipline, resilience, and a profound connection to the land. Max learned that the warriors of Taraxis did not train merely to fight, they trained to become one with their environment, to move with a harmony that respected and reflected the world around them. As the sun began its descent, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, they left the training rings. Lyra led Max to a nearby river, its waters glowing with bioluminescent algae. They sat by the bank, the water cool and soothing on their tired feet. Here, away from the rigor of training, Lyra shared tales of legendary warriors, each story steeped in the ethos of her people. Max listened, captivated not just by the tales themselves but by the way Lyra's voice carried a mixture of pride and nostalgia. It was clear that these legends were not just history, they were a living part of the Teresian identity, lessons in life and leadership passed down through generations. As night approached, and the first stars began to appear in the twilight sky, Max and Lyra remained by the river, their conversation meandering like the gentle currents. Max found himself sharing more about Earth, about his own experiences and hopes. The exchange was a blend of cultural sharing and personal revelation, each opening up in ways they hadn't anticipated. In the quiet of the coming night, with stars reflecting in the shimmering waters, a mutual understanding blossomed between them. This understanding was not just of words and histories but of shared human experiences, fear, hope, and the endless quest for meaning in a vast, uncaring universe. They were different, human and Terrasian, yet beneath those differences, they discovered a common ground that transcended worlds. The celestial dance of Taraxis's twin moons cast long, ethereal shadows across the landscape as Max and Lyra continued their exploration. They had ventured to the edgelands, where the forests thinned and gave way to vast, open plains. The stark beauty of this place, where the sky seemed to touch the ground, was breathtaking. As they walked, Lyra pointed to the horizon. "See there? That's the Seraph Plain." It said that the winds here carry secrets from the core of Taraxis. Her voice held a reverence that piqued Max's curiosity. "Why secrets?" Max asked, his gaze following her outstretched arm. Lyra smiled, a rare, unguarded expression. "Our ancestors believed that the winds were messengers, carrying whispers from the past and future. To stand here and listen is to hear the pulse of our planet." Max listened intently, the gentle breeze carrying whispers of alien flora. The idea that the wind could hold such meaning fascinated him. It was a testament to the deep connection the Taraxians had with their world. They set up camp as the moons reached their zenith, their light a silver glow that illuminated the plain. Around the fire, Lyra prepared a traditional meal using ingredients she had gathered during their journey. Max watched, fascinated by her skill and the ease with which she moved. As they ate, Lyra explained the significance of each dish. "Food is more than sustenance for us. It's a celebration of the land, a thank you to Taraxis for its bounty." The meal was unlike anything Max had ever tasted, each flavor bold and striking, yet harmoniously blended. He realized that even their food reflected their philosophy, robust and direct but deeply complex. Later, as they sat watching the moon's reflection on a small, glassy pond, Lyra's demeanor shifted. The warrior facade softened, giving way to contemplation. "Do you ever wonder about the stars, Max? About what mysteries they hide?" Max nodded. "All the time. It's what brought me to the stars, to you." Their conversation drifted to the cosmos, to the countless civilizations that must exist, each with its own stories and struggles. Lyra listened, her usual intensity replaced by a quiet thoughtfulness. "It's strange," she mused. "We look up at the same stars, yet we see them so differently." Max felt a profound connection in that moment, bound not by gravity but by the shared wonder of the universe. "Maybe that's the beauty of it," he suggested. "Different eyes, different worlds, but a single, shared sky." The night deepened, the temperature dropping as the plains whispered secrets in the wind. Max and Lyra drew closer to the fire, their bodies outlined by the flickering flames. In the dance of light and shadow, Max saw the countless facets of Lyra, warrior, guardian, philosopher, and realized how much more there was to learn, not just about Taraxis, but about the alien beside him. Their vigil lasted until the moon set, the first light of dawn casting a pale blue over the plain. In the quiet of the early morning, with only the wind as their witness, Max and Lyra shared a moment of unspoken understanding. It was a mutual recognition of the vastness they faced, both of the universe and of their own evolving relationship. A relationship that was slowly, irrevocably changing them both. The days on Taraxis passed, each one peeling back layers of the planet's mysteries and the depth of its culture. Max and Lyra had ventured beyond the Echo Valleys, traveling through diverse terrains that tested both Max's endurance and his understanding of this alien world. Today, they found themselves in the Glimmering Caves, so named for the bioluminescent fungi that clung to the cave walls, casting an eerie, beautiful glow that lit their path. The air was cool and damp, the silence of the caves only broken by the distant drip of moisture. Lyra was unusually quiet, her focus on the path ahead. Max noticed her tension, the way her eyes scanned the shadows that danced on the cave walls. "Is something wrong?" he asked, his voice low, almost swallowed by the cavernous space. Lyra stopped, turning to face him. Her expression was serious, a stark contrast to the usual fierceness that adorned her features. These caves are sacred, used by the Taraxians for rites of passage. We must tread carefully. Max nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. They continued in silence, the soft glow from the walls guiding their steps. After what felt like hours, they arrived at a larger chamber. The ceiling arched high above, the bioluminescent glow intensifying, bathing the chamber in a surreal light. At the center of the chamber stood an ancient artifact, a relic clearly of significant importance. It was a statue, half humanoid, half beast, its features eroded by time yet still imposing. Lyra approached it reverently, her hand hovering over the surface without touching. "This is the guardian of memories," she whispered. "It is said to hold the experiences of our ancestors, their wisdom encoded within." Max studied the statue, intrigued by the concept. "Is it true? Can it really hold memories?" Lyra looked at him, her eyes reflecting the glow of the fungi. "Some say it can. To us, it is a symbol, a reminder of our responsibility to remember and honor those who came before." The weight of such a tradition hung in the air, heavy and profound. Max felt the pull of curiosity, the desire to understand more about these practices and their meanings. They spent time in the chamber, Lyra recounting the legends associated with the Guardian, each tale more fascinating than the last. As they prepared to leave the chamber, Max's foot brushed against something half buried in the soft earth. He crouched, brushing away the dirt to reveal another artifact, this one small and metallic, shaped like a disc. He held it out to Lyra. Her reaction was instantaneous, a mix of surprise and reverence. "This is a memory disc," she explained, taking it carefully. "It's used to record personal histories. Finding one here is rare." Max watched as Lyra handled the disc, her usual stoic demeanor giving way to a softness he had seldom seen. "Whose memory is it?" he ventured to ask. Lyra's fingers traced the intricate patterns on the disc. "We won't know until we access it. It could be anyone's, a warrior, a scholar, even a ruler." The discovery added a new layer to their exploration, a personal touch that brought the legends to life. They left the chamber, the memory disc a precious cargo that promised further insights into the rich tapestry of Terracian history. That night, as they camped near the entrance of the caves, the firelight flickering across their faces, Lyra and Max shared a quiet excitement about the disc. The possibility of hearing a voice from the past, of learning from it, seemed to bridge the gap between their worlds, drawing them closer in their shared quest for knowledge. In the darkness of the Terracian night, under a blanket of stars, the bond between human and Terracian deepened, each driven by a relentless curiosity and a profound respect for the history that shaped the land and its people. With the memory disc in hand, Max and Lyra returned to the base, a structure designed to serve as a hub for human and Terracian interaction. The base was equipped with technology capable of deciphering the disc's contents, a task that required delicate handling and precise technology. Inside the tech room, Lyra inserted the disc into a decoding device. The machine hummed to life, lights flickering as it began the process of accessing the ancient data. Max watched, his anticipation growing. The air was thick with the potential of unearthing a piece of Terracian history firsthand. As the device worked, Lyra explained more about the memory discs. They were used in times of great turmoil or change. Leaders and warriors would record their thoughts, lessons, and warnings for future generations. The machine beeped, signaling that the decoding was complete. Lyra retrieved the disc and connected it to a visual output. The room darkened as holographic images flickered to life, revealing the figure of a Terracian, tall, even by their standards, dressed in the regalia of a high-ranking warrior. The figure began to speak, its voice echoing around the room. "I am Soris, once a guardian of the northern realms. My life has been one of conflict and resolution, of battles fought both outside and within." Max and Lyra listened as Soris recounted battles against invaders, strategic alliances, and the internal struggles of leading a people through crises. The hologram provided visual aids, maps, battle strategies, and images of allies and foes alike. As Soris spoke of a particularly devastating battle, his tone shifted to one of introspection. The true strength of a leader, he said, lies not in how many battles are won, but in how they are won. Honor, integrity, and wisdom are the pillars upon which a peaceful society must be built. Lyra nodded, her expression somber. His words still resonate today, she murmured. The challenges have changed, but the principles remain the same. Max was struck by the relevance of Soares' message, seeing parallels with his own world struggles. The session continued, with Soares detailing the cultural and societal impacts of his decisions, offering insights that were timeless in their wisdom. When the hologram faded, the room remained dark for a moment, the weight of history lingering in the silence. Then, Lyra switched on the lights, the present rushing back as the echoes of the past receded. They discussed what they had learned, both deeply affected by Soares' revelations. It's more than history, Max observed. It's a guide, a way to navigate the future without repeating the mistakes of the past. Lyra agreed, her eyes reflective. And it's a reminder that we are not so different, you and I. Our ancestors faced similar challenges, fought similar battles. The conversation drifted to their own lives, their own personal battles and victories. As they shared, the line between human and Teresian blurred, their stories weaving together in the shared light of understanding and respect. That night, as they looked up at the stars, the same stars Soares had once navigated by, Max felt a profound connection not just to Lyra but to Taraxis itself. The planet, with all its history and mystery, had accepted him, and he, in turn, had embraced it, finding not just an alien world but a new home in the stars. In the days following the revelation of Soares' memories, Max and Lyra found themselves deep in collaboration, their efforts focused on documenting the lessons and strategizing on how they could be applied to foster deeper understanding and cooperation between their peoples. Their work was meticulous, driven by a mutual respect for the past and a shared hope for the future. As they prepared for the upcoming Cultural Exchange Summit, an event aimed at bridging human and Teresian societies, the base became a hive of activity. Representatives from both species arrived, each eager to learn and share, the air buzzing with a variety of languages and the subtle nuances of interstellar diplomacy. Max was at the forefront, his experiences on Taraxis having equipped him with unique insights into the Teresian way of life. He had grown from an observer to an active participant, his role pivotal in the delicate dance of cultural integration. Lyra too had transformed. The warrior who had once viewed humans with skepticism now spoke of partnership and mutual growth. Her leadership was evident, guiding her people through the complexities of these interactions with a steady hand. The summit commenced under the twin moons of Taraxis, their light a silent benediction over the gathering. Max and Lyra stood together, addressing the assembly. Max spoke first, his words resonating with the conviction of one who had not only studied but lived his subject. "We are gathered here not just to share knowledge but to build a future," Max said, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. "A future where humans and Taraxians can stand side by side, not as rivals, but as allies, as friends." Lyra took over, her voice strong and clear. "In the echoes of our past, we have found common ground, lessons taught by those who walked these lands before us. Let us carry forward not just their memories but their wisdom." The summit was a blend of discussions, workshops, and shared meals, each activity designed to intertwine the lives and cultures of the participants. Max found himself deeply involved in debates and strategy sessions, his insights into Teresian customs proving invaluable. One evening, as the summit drew to a close, Max and Lyra found themselves alone, looking out over the plains where they had first truly spoken of their hopes and dreams. The landscape was bathed in the soft light of Taraxis's moons, the plains whispering secrets as they had on that first night. "We have started something remarkable, haven't we?" Max mused, his voice low. Lyra nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "Yes, something that will outlast us, perhaps. A legacy of peace and understanding." They stood in silence, the weight of their achievements settling around them like a cloak. It was Lyra who broke the quiet. "What will you do now, Max? Will you return to Earth?" Max considered the question, his heart torn. The thought of leaving Taraxis was painful, more than he had anticipated. "I don't know," he admitted. Part of me feels like my place is here now. Lyra turned to him, her hand reaching out to clasp his. Then stay. Help us build this future. Max looked into her eyes, seeing not just the fierce warrior he had met but a visionary leader, a dear friend. His decision, it seemed, had already been made, not by logic or duty, but by the bonds forged under the moons of Taraxis. As long as I have a place here, I will stay, Max confirmed, his voice steady. The moons shone brightly above them, casting their light over a world on the brink of a new era. Together, Max and Lyra turned back towards the summit, their silhouettes merging into one against the luminous night sky, their steps firm and sure as they walked back into the gathering, ready to face whatever challenges and wonders the future might hold.